I come from the Marrickville Delta, a whiskey drinking home. I got too many stimulants when I was in my mother's womb. So I came out a crack-ass guitar player, putting my albums on a 45 of Mega Death and Slayer. Slow it down, my mother screamed, you're playing far too fast. You come from the Marrickville Delta, baby, gotta play it lazy ass.
Marrickville is a cultural melting pot located in Sydney's inner west. Lazy Bones is a space in Marrickville which embodies the spirit of the area. Here, an obscure hole in the wall leads you upstairs to a remarkable live music venue filled with a mishmash of shabby regal lounges, antique decorative pieces, repurposed objects and chandeliers. Craig Peterson, the owner, describes his creation simply as a lounge bar with live music that serves South African food, its target audience being inclusive of everyone. The design of Lazy Bones is influenced by local artists and friends of Craig, who helps him fit out the space in a process which took 9 months. The result is a local niche venue that is awesomely inviting, authentic and inspired. So Craig, this place is amazing. What inspired your design?
Well, coming from Melbourne and living in Fitzroy, I think that the living in the bohemian environment has always been very appealing to me, and creativity is always something that I'm attracted to, and fusion of cultures. I have an affinity with Vietnamese people. Actually, I seem to have this alignment with them wherever I go. They seem to pop up next door, around the corner. Is an area that really I love. Because when I arrived in Australia in 1980, and there was a huge influx of Vietnamese refugees, and I came from South Africa, and I thought my life was complex, and then I met the Vietnamese, I thought, wow, quite amazing people. So that's what appealed to me when I walked into Marrickville. They said, wow, amazing. Food, Greek community, Lebanese, Australians, all seem to live in harmony with each other. And my partner and I saw the building, and that was it. We fell in love with it, and going to be a nightclub. I said, I don't even know what a nightclub looks like, let alone trying to create one. I think that if anything, it's a lounge bar with live music that serves South African food. That's it.
Collaborative design isn't limited to the social spaces of Marrickville either.
Respect the arts, because I find in Australia that how difficult it is for artists to survive, and how amazing it is that with all the adversity they have, we still produce some of the most amazing musicians in the world.
Craig believes it's important to allow the design process to evolve, to let people and place influence it. You're not so much designing the place as you are creating a space for the culture to design it.
I think what Sydney does, Sydney seems to think that money buys culture and vibe. And personally, I don't think it is. I think that it should be, it's about using your initiative, being creative, using what you have to the local artists, like that. The mural was painted by a local artist, Fernando. That took him 6 weeks to paint. All these cornices were made by local craftsmen. So what you see is, a lot of the concrete bar was built by, local builders. So I think that using, the creativity that's amongst us, and at the end of the day, it's not me that's just the only person that creates something like this. There's an accumulative minds here that all participated. And I tell you right now, I'm a great believer in listening to people. They say, Craig, that's the wrong colour. I said, all right, let's have a go at another colour. And I think that's what this place represents, really. Same applies with the music. I tell musicians, mate, this is your space. You create your vibe on that stage. I'm not going to dictate what I want. I just want you to be creative, do what you know best, and for you to put you in a position where you can hone in your craft.
My sweet honeybee, and if I was a tree growing tall and green, all I'd want is you to shade me and be
Cornersmith Cafe is another example of a place in Marrickville where people and place are intrinsic to the design process. This vibrant cafe takes pride in its focus on using seasonal ingredients as well as produce grown by locals in the area.
If I was a flower growing wild and free, all I'd want is you to be my sweet honeybee. And if I was a tree growing tall and green, all I'd want is you to shade me and
We sat down to talk to the owner, Alex Elliott Harry.
All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea. Water would be my call. If you were the winter, I know I'd be the snow. Just as long as you're with me when the cold winds blow. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me? Hold me in your arms and sway me like the sea. If you were a wink, I'd be a nod. If you were a seed, well, I'd be a pod. If you were a floor, I'd wanna be the rug. And if you were a kiss, I know I'd be a hug. All I want is you, will you be my bride? Take me by the hand and stand by my side. All I want is you, will you stay with me?
Local interior designers Smith and Carmody did the fit out for Cornersmith. Sustainability is the driving force of this neighbourly cafe, with much of what is served here made from scratch on site, such as the ricotta as well as the honey which comes from beehives on the premises. The homely feeling extends to the many jars of pickles, jams and cordials which occupy every flat surface in the cafe. The design of everything in Cornersmith, from the exterior facade to the furniture to the graphic design of the pickle jar labels, all refer to the industrial heritage of the area, as well as the coming together of diverse cultures. The Bike Shed is a volunteer-run organisation at Addison Road Markets that provides a welcoming space in the community where any person can learn to build, maintain and repair bicycles. The Red Rattler Theatre is a not-for-profit community-based venue started by 5 local artists. It acts as a creative playground for performers, musicians, artists and designers, amongst many others. The Mothers Group provides an opportunity for parents to meet other local parents and carers while their children can play, interact and learn in a group. And there's also a community-driven shopping culture booming in Marrickville. The Reverse Garbage Business Cooperative has drawn people from all over Sydney to trawl through tons of random odds and ends that were industrial waste. We spoke to the CEO of Reverse Garbage, Narelle Mantell, about the design of her shop and the values it stems from.
I think we're an integral part of any artist in this area's lifespan. This is the only place where you can get the most diverse range of raw materials and products to work with at a very, very affordable price. It's a really fantastic alternative to corporate Australia or the corporate world or neoliberalism. We do things fairly and equitably. We still have money. We still have money in the bank, money to pay wages, money to endeavour on social justice issues. So, yeah. We have a concept and we refer to it as adaptive design. So we encourage artists and designers and filmmakers to come in without a preconceived idea of what they're going to do. Like, sure, they've got an idea about making something in particular, but don't come in with this idea that it has to be made out of X, Y, or Z. And this is our way of saying, work with what exists, and then you'll stop overproduction and mass production.
So what will change with gentrification?
Population of Marrickville change in terms of, as you know, Sydney becomes more expensive, younger people move closer, further west, and so there's heaps of artists and designers here. And you can see if you come down here on any given day, or particularly on a Sunday, just how swamped we are with people who kind of see reverse garbage as their second home. So I think it's very much part of the Marrickville brand in terms of alternatives to mainstream shopping and mainstream purchasing, because I think people feel good about coming to reverse garbage because not only are they getting their shopping fix, but they're saving resources from landfill. So it's kind of like guilt-free shopping. You can come in, you can create, you can buy stuff, take it home, but know that you've done something good without chaining yourself to a tree or something like that. So, and that pretty much engenders the greater Marrickville community, and especially here in the Addison Road Centre. I think Marrickville's a really diverse community. It has the largest Indigenous population in Sydney, which people don't realise. It has a large Greek population, Vietnamese. A lot of Vietnamese and Greek people and people from other countries around the world already have a notion of reuse and dealing with what already exists because of not enough resources available. So we get a really diverse group of people coming to reverse garbage, from little old Vietnamese ladies to, interior designers from Woollahra. So, but Marrickville is a very, very diverse community and I think as I've been here 13 years, I've watched the population of Marrickville change. I think there is a real definite trend to become more and more gentrified as houses in Marrickville go from over $1 million, which is unbelievable given that a plane flies this far over your head. But it's just the way Sydney's become so absurd in terms of property values. But in reference to the Addison Road Centre, there's a really strong commitment to ensuring that, the yuppies and the bastards don't get their hands on this place and turn it into something that it could never be. It has to maintain its integrity as a not-for-profit hub, and that's why we're so busily cooperating with broader Sydney to ensure that it maintains its validity.
Should this collaborative and community-driven design approach be considered as a valid design process? In this particular suburb, it seems to be a more than valid process that immensely increases the popularity of these businesses we've looked at. These designs have always had a head designer and a set goal. Conscious decisions are being made all along the way. They are just heavily influenced by what exists in the area, and the designer pays attention to what the locals want to see. This flexible design process also allows the designer to be opportunistic and perhaps makes it easier to employ sustainable practices such as sourcing things locally and repurposing furniture. The slow design process of venues such as Lazybones and Cornersmith Cafe has allowed them to support other slow design businesses such as Reverse Garbage, to the extent where there is almost a whole interconnected culture developed. How much of this cultural image or brand, if you will, is genuine? We decided to have a look at what Marrickville's history as a place is and what events may have formed the local culture. So before settlement, the area used to be home to the Aboriginal Cadigal tribe. Back then it was called Bullinaming. It was a place that had a great abundance of animal and plant life that Aboriginal people used. Soon after European settlement, Marrickville's dense bush and swampland was used as a place for runaway criminals to hide out. It wasn't long until the Europeans started extracting resources from this lush area, using the timber to build boats. 2,000 acres of the land in the area was then bought by Dr. Robert Wardell, who started selling the timber off as firewood and then established his estate as a hunting ground and introduced English deer to hunt. Wardell also had a hand in establishing Australia's first independent newspaper, The Australian. A while after Wardell's passing in 1855, the land was first coined Marrickville. This happened when Thomas Chalder laid down a village and market gardens, dairy farms in the area that is now Addison Road, and stone quarries which also popped up. Along with the stonemasons and gardeners, there were architects, lawyers and members of parliament living in this area. In the 1860s, Marrickville was a place of diverse cultures and skilled men living alongside millionaires. In 1878, the first Marrickville Town Hall was built on Illawarra Road. By the late 1880s, Marrickville had developed its brick-making industry. It became home to the largest brick-making business in Sydney, and the suburb became a suburb for working families. In the 1890s, the swamp area of Marrickville was drained for development purposes. Wool mills, steel and metal operations, and automotive industries took hold, and the suburb saw a population surge. By 1935, there were more than 130 manufacturing businesses in Marrickville. Marrickville had a lot of music culture around this time too, and was home to the first council-supported suburban orchestra in Sydney. The factory setting and cheap housing attracted people from lots of different cultures. After World War II, Marrickville was transformed into one of the most diverse societies in Australia. By the 1970s, industry was dying down, but the community culture didn't go with it. The shared experiences of migrants in Marrickville generally built a tolerant and accommodating society. The 1980s was when the Vietnamese and Chinese moved into the area. The Aboriginal population stuck around in Marrickville too. At the 2006 census, 1,078 people identified as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, and the number of Indigenous residents continues to grow in the area. So to go back to our original question, has Marrickville given birth to its own brand?
We've got migrants from Vietnam, and I think there's heaps of people from Cambodia as well, and there's heaps of Aboriginal people.
I think it's different, depends where you live. I live on like the Sydenham side, and I describe it as a wasteland. Probably set fire to a car and it burned to a crisp before anyone noticed. Over here, it's
Space is bustling with activity, especially at this time of day.
It's diverse here. I reckon.
Yeah, there's the clashing of kind of Asian culture and Greeks and young creative types. Lots of people from the inner city or eastern suburbs have actually started moving here.
So the price would probably only go up from here.
I'd imagine, because I think a lot of people want to get into Marrickville, so the more people if there's more demand for people to come down here, I think the prices of everything will probably go up.
It's just only a matter of time until the area gets kind of used up though.
And we get priced out.
And then kind of, families start to move in and the young people get pushed out again, but it's in a good kind of stage at the moment, I guess.
What would you say are like a few key words of Marrickville's image?
I would say it's growing, booming, but it's down to earth at this stage. Not pretentious. Definitely not alternative. It's becoming a little bit indie.
Well, first, let's go back to the definition of the word brand. The word was originally associated with burning, as well as with the blade of a sword. The process of branding was perhaps first used for marking livestock and criminals, but now branding is more widely associated with trademarking an image, especially a designed image, portrayed by a business to make it seem engaging and be memorable. Marrickville certainly has an overall aesthetic and culture that everyone agrees on, and it hasn't happened by mistake. The design of many of its unique spaces has been largely profitable, and the image actively portrayed by many Marrickville locals is consistent, engaging and memorable. Sometimes the brand of Marrickville leaves its mark on the locals and those who visit it too. They share an appreciation for the creative talents employed in making Marrickville spaces design the way they are, and an appreciation for the most popular eateries that sell food that tastes as good as it does. The time and effort that would have gone into a band writing and perfecting a song to be performed live on a Friday or Saturday night also has an impact. Here, people make different consumer choices, they make different life choices, and the locals buy into both of these and actively sell their Marrickville brand. This kind of gradual cultural brand design differs from corporate branding in that it allows its image to grow and change with user input, and it is not all devised, rather it allows itself to be influenced by its environment. Gentrification has changed many suburbs both in Sydney and globally. It is a shift in an urban community towards wealthier residents and/or businesses and increasing property values, sometimes at the expense of the poorer residents of the community. Many of the locals in Marrickville have been fighting this change and been making contributions such as supporting small business in the area. Some very big name companies have tried to get a foothold in the suburb and have failed to receive enough support and business. You can see that down the main street here there are not too many big corporate designs. Many of these logos were probably designed by someone in the area. Many people believe gentrification degrades cultures and communities. It is seen as a negative change.
The sad part of all major cities is that, with gentrification, people with culture, depth and artistic ability gets pushed out further and further and further, which is a sad thing. But I think Marrickville seems to be the last frontier at the moment in Sydney, which is a shame, but it's there, it's holding its ground, which is great.
There is a paradoxical conundrum that designers face regarding gentrification. On one hand, it can be perceived as a loss of culture, where artists and certain community groups are priced out of a suburb. Whereas on the other hand, the influx of affluent classes injects money into the community, revitalizing buildings, public spaces and infrastructure. Gentrification tends to tap into the historical lineage of a suburb, drawing reference from its past and often revitalizing heritage buildings. The problem Marrickville now faces is to somehow maintain its vibrant creative community and multiculturalism, whilst taking advantage of the aesthetic improvements that gentrification offers. Perhaps affordable and sustainable design practices can offer solutions, especially when coupled with engaging the local community in this discourse.
Makes me who I am today is the fact that I lived in South Africa, and the only thing that kept us together is the arts. That without the arts as a culture, we're fucked. We might edit that.